Hi, my name is Frank Wonderly, and today I'm going to give a presentation about technical communication. Specifically, I will talk about the different technical communication dimensions that are incorporated into ASU's very own student pavilion. So let me start off by talking about what the student pavilion actually is. The student pavilion is a 100% green facility which offers spaces for students to meet and study together. It was finished construction in 2017 and became operational the same year. So the first dimension I'm going to talk about is the economic dimension. The student pavilion is a multi-use facility which prides itself with its commitment to be as sustainable as possible in terms of its energy usage. And so, for example, it's a zero waste facility, which means that any byproducts of cooling or heating or any other activity are used in one way or another for something else. So there's no waste. It's also has a practically non-existent carbon footprint, and all of its energy is renewable. So that would be something like solar panels, chilled beam and indirect evaporative cooling, external window and wall shading, energy efficient offices and classrooms, and kitchen equipment. And it also has high efficiency heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and HVAC systems, and also interior daylighting, including solar tube use and energy efficient lighting. It's also operated in a similar fashion as the MU, which means that it offers rooms for events and panels and fraternities and all that sort of stuff. And it also has a chill out area and study areas for students, but more on that later. The next thing is that any student can access the building and use it for all the services that it offers at zero cost. So the next what was a dimension? That I'm going to talk about is the institutional dimension. So that the institutional and dimension factors include the undergraduate student government and other student organizations that exist on campus, and I'll get into some of those on another dimension. But essentially, there's also the LGBT groups and international student groups and the like. And it's also important to note that any student from any school on campus with any major can access the building and enjoy its services and amenities. And students can also choose to either study, work, or do group projects or get help from tutors who work at the facility. And this brings me to my next dimension, which is the demographic dimension of the student pavilion, which, as we can see, primarily caters to undergraduate students at ASU. So this could be a student seeking help for a class or a club president in need for a conference room to hold a meeting in. And these study areas are also very large and feature lots of computers with internet access, also to the ASU intranet. So students have access to all of this in order to complete their homework. The office spaces that are there are designed to create a hub for students to actively engage with the various clubs and organizations that exist on ASU. And yeah, so the lounging areas have a lot of modern furniture where students can also just kick back and recover from some of the strenuous upper level classes or exams. And so it's fair to say that the area mainly focuses on a demographic of students from the age range of 18 to 22, but obviously older students can also go. So the next dimension we got is the cultural dimension. And the cultural dimension of the student pavilion features the offices of many student coalitions, such as the American Indian Council, which facilitates and supports all American Indian organizations on campus, and events that advocate cultural diversity on campus and off campus with the Native American community in the Phoenix metropolitan area, or also the Black African Coalition, which is dedicated to uniting African Americans and African students at Arizona State University. Mainly their goals are to increase enrollment, increase retention, and to increase their presence through positive campus activities. There's also an organization called the Coalition of International Students, which aims at promoting communication among all international student organizations in order to coordinate and consolidate activities of international students while promoting understanding among the various cultures within the university and community at large. So there are very many such organizations, but just to name one more, there's the Chinese Student and Scholars Association, which is a student organization dedicated to promoting social, intellectual, and cultural activities for Chinese students, scholars, and any interested members at ASU. So now we can get into the next dimension, which is the educational dimension. Sorry. The educational dimension of the Student Pavilion is, as I mentioned before, the Student Pavilion offers tutoring for all majors at all levels of the game, and it provides feedback on one's work in class, such as writing tutoring. And study groups, as I mentioned before, have computers with internet access at their disposal, and they can use that to complete any assignment they are faced with in a timely manner. And the last dimension we have for the Student Pavilion is the ethical dimension. This goes back also to the economic dimension slide. The Student Pavilion is really big on sustainability, which in its essence promotes a greener, more environmentally conscious attitude towards its surroundings. And most importantly, however, the pavilion fosters unity and multiculturalism through its inclusionary nature of all students and all backgrounds. And the pavilion has no room for racism, gender bias, or religious discrimination, and it proves this by putting all of the aforementioned under the same roof at the same time. So in conclusion, I'd just like to summarize all dimensions that I saw in terms of technical communication at the Student Pavilion, which is the economic dimension here, and the institutional dimension, the demographic dimension, cultural, educational, and the ethical dimension. So thank you very much for paying attention to my presentation on technical communication dimensions of ASU Student Pavilion. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day.